It has been one hell of an NFL season here on the video report with the plays I'm giving away for free over the past 7 weeks. I'm on a 24-11 roll, again with the complimentary selections. And for today, not only do I have 5 complimentary plays for you, but I also want to discuss a couple of excellent teaser possibilities too. Then with the plays that, of course, are my best bets over at DeMarcosports.com. Well, there I'm going for top-rated 15-time NFL best bet winner number 20 out of 29. So again, the NFL, yeah, I have absolutely no complaints. Hi, everyone. Al DeMarco here, general manager at DeMarcosports.com. And this, of course, is going to be your Sunday video report. And let's get to your free picks because this is an interesting card. There's not a lot of depth, but there's a lot of interesting games. So let's start with what I think is the best bet among the plays I'm going to give you, and that's San Francisco minus the 11.5. Listen, I was waiting to see what was going to happen with the 49ers coming off the bye at Jacksonville last week, and the 49ers are healthy, and they're back. As you saw with the 34-3 win at Jacksonville, Brock Purdy. Hey, what happens to Brock Purdy when he has Deebo Samuels back in the lineup? He has his mojo back and 19 for 26, 296 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Christian McCaffrey, well, he's Christian McCaffrey anyway, right? 16 carries, 95 yards, 6 catches, 47 yards. Deebo, 4 receptions, 30 yards there, 3 carries, 29 yards. The defense, which has always been strong, had 5 sacks of Trevor Lawrence. This is the only home game in a 4-game stretch for the 49ers. Then they have the road games, I think, on Thanksgiving against Seattle and then Philadelphia next. This is a team that has covered 13 of its last 15 as a home favorite, that has covered 11 of its last 12 at home overall. Tampa, snapped the 4-game losing streak with the 20-6 home win over the Titans. Big deal. I'm laying the 11.5 with San Francisco in this spot. Next game, Detroit, coming off the bye. Listen, it was an entertaining game against the Chargers last week. The Lions are a 7.5-point favorite over Chicago. The defense certainly gives me reason to pause because they're 30th in the red zone. They're 25th in the league in terms of their pass rush percentage, only getting to opposing quarterbacks on 6.5% of the time. And Aiden Hutchinson, no sacks since week number 5. But the fact is that offense is just rolling right now. And what I really liked is David Montgomery, the former Bear, who signed with the Lions in the offseason, back healthy last week. You saw 12 carries, 116 yards against the Chargers. And now you've got David Montgomery and Jamar Gibbs, who had a nice game last week, 14 carries, 77 yards. So you've got one guy who likes to run between the tackles of Montgomery, more the power runner. You've got Gibbs, who has that explosiveness and is the better receiver, who also can go onto the outside, run outside of the tackles, and that's a nice inside-outside game, which makes Jared Goff's even more effective. And you saw what he did against the Chargers last week, 22 for 33, 333 yards, 2 touchdowns, no sacks either. And the Chargers defense had really been playing well in terms of putting pressure on opposing quarterbacks. I just don't think the Bears are going to be able to get them, and I don't care that Justin Fields is back. This is a team, the Lions, that has been such a moneymaker, going 16-3 against the spread in their last 19 games, 7-2 in their last 9 as a home chalk. The Bears barely got by an awful Carolina team in that Thursday night game. I don't care if they had 2 extra days or 2 weeks extra to prepare for this game. I'm more than willing to take the Lions naturally at 7.5. I'm buying down the 0.5 point on Detroit. By the way, if you just need a little more convincing, the Bears have failed to cover in 12 of their last 14 division games. Continuing on, Jacksonville, such a disappointment this year. And if you want to know why, I think the most telling stat is this. The Jaguars have 18 offensive touchdowns. They have 17 turnovers. 11 of those turnovers have occurred in the opponent's territory. This team just can't stop hurting itself. 3-11 ATS skid as a home favorite. The defense, which had been playing well, gave up 437 yards to the 49ers last week. And Trevor Lawrence, his protection just hasn't been there. He has been sacked 24 times in 9 games this season. Last year, 27 times in 17 games when you include the playoffs, right? Now, in 2 games against Tennessee last year, he played well, 580 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. But this Titans team has just always played well against Jacksonville, 5-1 against the spread, their last 6 in Jacksonville. But let's play the flip side, play devil's advocate here. You also know that Tennessee is playing on the road for a third straight week. And this is a Tennessee team that has lost 9 straight games on the road, going 2-6-1 against the spread in that stretch. This is tough, but I'll tell you what, I think that Jacksonville, sooner or later, the pedigree of this team will show. And I'm going to go with Jacksonville here. I'm going to buy down the half point, -7 here on the Jaguars. Dallas. Yeah, listen, Dallas should, right, beat Carolina. I told you last week I didn't care that the Cowboys had the biggest line of the entire season, -17.5, that I would have laid 30 with them. And you saw what they did to the Giants. They jumped out to the big lead. They didn't collapse. They rolled 49-17, 640 yards, 172 for the Giants, 32-16 first down advantage. The key here is, will they avoid the letdown? Remember the 2-0 start for the Cowboys, and they go to Arizona and they get upset. Has Carolina showed you anything? Probably if you go back to week number 3, you probably would have heard me say, has Arizona showed you anything? And you know what happened that week, right? But seriously, 10.5. It's not a bad number. And this is one of the few occasions where at 10 or 10.5, I would actually buy down the half point on protection with the Cowboys here. Carolina at home this season averaged just 14.5 points. This is an offense that had just 213 yards in that game against against Chicago. So I'm going to hope and pray for the pick's sake that the Cowboys once again do not stub their toes and have a letdown and go with the Cowboys in this contest. The other 2 games I considered. Last week I said if you put a gun to my head, I would take Pittsburgh against Green Bay, and the Steelers did cover. So here you have the Steelers as a 1-point underdog at Cleveland. And of course, listen, the Browns cost me dearly last week. I lost with Baltimore because the Ravens had an epic collapse, blew a 14-point fourth quarter lead. But Deshaun Watson, of course, is gone. And now they're going to start the UCLA rookie, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, making his second start of the season. The first one, of course, was against Baltimore, and he was definitely unprepared back in week number 3. Is he going to play better this week? The thing with the Steelers is they just keep winning, and they keep winning ugly. Is this the ugliest 6-3 team? I think they have been outgained in total yardage 9 straight games. And when they won back in week number 2, remember 26-22, they only won that game thanks to 2 defensive TDs. So when I look at this game, for a Steelers team that is 4-1 straight up and against the spread in the last 5 games, I would probably lean toward taking the Steelers. I'm just saying, if you put a gun to my head again, I would probably take the Steelers in this contest. But just my thought on that game, okay? Just a humble opinion on that game. Here's another humble opinion for you. Buffalo is a 7-point favorite. I keep saying this. Sooner or later, the Bills are going to snap out of it. And how can you bet the Jets? Seriously, how can you bet the Jets? I told you last week when I went 3-0 on Sunday, can't bet the Jets, had to take the Raiders. I was right on the money, was I not? But it was an ugly game. I think the best thing the Bills have going for them is they finally got rid of Ken Dorsey, long overdue move, their offensive coordinator. Now, granted, the Bills' offense hasn't been much better than the Jets. When Josh Allen has looked just a little better than Zach Wilson, that's a scary thought. That's a scary sentence, is it not? So what are you getting with the new offensive coordinator and Joe Brady? You got a guy who broke into the NFL for 2 years in the Sean Payton system as an offensive assistant. Then he went to LSU, and he was the passing game coordinator and quarterbacks coordinator with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and that propelled him back into the NFL, where he became the offensive coordinator with Matt Rule and the Carolina Panthers. That lasted 1.5 years before he got fired. Of course, he never had really a good quarterback or a system in Carolina. Now he was on the staff here as quarterbacks coach. He's been promoted. He's a young guy. I think he's like 32 years old. That many changes in 5 days? No, but anything's got to help. I think Buffalo's going to get that job done, but it's kind of like Pittsburgh. you don't bet hunches, you know? So of the complimentary plays I gave you, as I said, San Francisco, absolutely number one. Detroit, a close number two. And now we get into the troublesome spots, okay? I'm going to go with, oh, this pains me to say this, Dallas, number three. Yes, let's hope that Dallas doesn't collapse again. And then Jacksonville would be number four. And then, yes, Pittsburgh would be number five. So again, San Francisco number one, Detroit a close number two, Dallas number three, Jacksonville number four, and Pittsburgh number five. But let's talk about the teaser possibilities today because there are some great numbers. And what do I always say? I like taking teams that are between 3 and 10-point favorites and sliding them down. Usually taking them in a 7-point teaser. That's just my preference. And 2-team teasers are what I like to play. So you're looking at some great teams to tease here. For example, Detroit, 7.5-point favorite. Are the Lions going to lose at home? And in this one, literally, if you want to save a couple of pennies, you could play Detroit as a 6-point teaser if you wanted to. Personally, I would still go ahead and play them in a 7, but I understand if you want to save a couple of dimes. But is Detroit going to lose to Chicago at home? No. End the story. San Francisco. Listen, San Francisco, minus 11.5. You could take the 49ers down to 4.5. Are they going to win by less than a touchdown over Tampa Bay? I don't think so. Is Dallas? Oh, boy, here. This gives me agita. If you're Italian, you know what I mean, agita. Dallas, take them down to 3.5. And again, there I play them a 7-pointer. Down to 3.5 at Carolina. I think that's a potential teaser, too. Another game on the board. Here's a game I didn't talk about. Miami, steep favorite, 13.5 points at home against the Raiders. But you know how Miami has lost to good teams, but against cupcakes. And listen, just because the Raiders beat the Giants and the Jets, that doesn't mean they're suddenly turned around their season. But I think you could easily take Miami in this spot in the 7-point 2-team teaser down to 6.5, and you could play them too. So those are great teaser teams: Detroit, Miami, Jacksonville, San Francisco, Dallas, all of them in potential teasers. Now, I know somebody out there is probably going to say, hey, Al, why not play a 3-team 10-point teaser? Not my cup of tea. I do so well with 2-teamers. Not the way I would personally go. If you wanted to play a 3-teamer, I don't quite understand the logic there because, yeah, you could put San Francisco in a 3-teamer. You could put Miami in a 3-teamer. But what's the benefit of playing any of those? Oh, maybe you could put Dallas in a 3-teamer. So if you're going to do that, because I don't see the benefit of putting Detroit at 7.5, making them an underdog. Okay, I don't see the point there. I'd rather play them in a 2-teamer. I don't see Jacksonville at 7, putting them as an underdog role when I can play them more conservatively at a better price in a 2-teamer. It doesn't make sense to me. But if you're going to play a 3-teamer, I guess I would say San Francisco minus 1.5, Dallas at -1, and Miami minus 3.5. But again, it's not a teaser that I would play. And of the 2-team opportunities I threw out there, I would probably say Detroit would be the number 1 team I would put in a 2-teamer. And I would say Miami would be the second choice. So I would say the Lions and the Dolphins would be my ideal teaser of all the teams. Maybe San Francisco would also be throw in the hat, and you could take any of those 3 teams, Detroit, Miami, and San Francisco. But I think Detroit and Miami would probably be my ideal 2-team teaser. So there you go. I don't know what I can possibly do to break down this Sunday card for you any better. As far as all the other games, there's not one of them I like. I will probably be back on Monday. Oh, my God, what a Monday game. Jesus, Super Bowl rematch. I got to think about it. I'm doing this video for you at 6 o'clock in the morning Eastern time on Friday. Maybe by Monday, God will come down from the mountain along with Moses and let me know who they like for this game because, geez, my hometown Eagles, I don't know if I can watch this game. This is going to be a tough game, but we'll worry about it 48 hours from now. Good luck, everybody. Talk to you soon.